Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Saturday night, some massive news that really impacts the college football landscape, especially for the Miami Hurricanes. Cam Ward, who declared for the NFL draft but never signed an agent, and we were always kicking it around saying, wonder what Cam Ward is going to do, commits to the Miami Hurricanes. And for the Miami Hurricane fans that have been listening to us and talking with us in the comment section for the last couple of weeks, you guys probably know how fired up I am about this one. This is an offense that I think is really ready to explode if they got this quarterback position right. Cam Ward is the definition of getting this quarterback position right. And for all the Mario slander that you saw the last couple of weeks about missing on a quarterback, he comes out. Mario always closes. He always closes with Cam Ward. The boys are fired up. I want to talk about Cam Ward, what he brings to this Miami offense, and talk about what this Miami Hurricanes team can do in 2024. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys and a shout out to the Miami Hurricane fans. I mean, this has been a program that we've had a blast talking about over the last couple of weeks. Cannot thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown the boys. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I'm going to kick this one to you. Cam Ward heading to the Miami Hurricanes. How are we feeling?
I don't want to say this is only a Miami Hurricanes offense that can break out. This is a team that I think is very ready to go be very competitive on the national landscape. I mean, last year, if they had really good quarterback play, I think that's a team that might win the ACC and might have found their way into a playoff spot. I think with that expansion, this is a team that's good enough. You look everywhere else, a bunch of young guys on that defensive line in a really good unit, a bunch of really good talented wide receivers, a really good offensive line, or at least what you think is going to be a very good offensive line. This team's ready to rock and roll. They needed this quarterback. They needed to hit on something. I think as we got deeper in the portal, you started to wonder, man, are they not going to get it this year? Is it going to be – are you going to feel like you kind of aren't putting yourself in the best position to do it? They did it with Cam Ward, though, and this team should be ready to rock and roll.
I've been banging the table for kind of since the offseason started, and you look at the young talent that performed and what they've brought in the last couple of years in the high school recruiting trail, and saying, if this team gets the quarterback right, this is going to be an extremely dangerous team. And I'm looking at the ACC right now, and I'm looking at Florida State and the Miami Hurricanes as kind of a two programs that are going to be battling it out for that ACC. Obviously, you can throw Clemson in there, but I think this kind of puts Miami right on the top of the list in terms of contenders in the ACC, and quite frankly, to make some noise in the college football playoffs. And talking about Cam Ward and what he brings, I think the thing I want to start with is he is coming into an offense that is ready-made to kind of explode, right? This offensive line is going to be one of the better units that you see in the country. I think the wide receiver play, guys like Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George, Ray Joseph maybe taking a step, true freshman JoJo Trader, probably missed a few names. That's a very talented group. The run game is going to be very good with an offensive line and Mark Fletcher and company in the backfield. I think what I want to talk about first before we talk about Cam Ward, the player, is Cam Ward's coming into an offense that has all the bones and all the pieces to be one of the better offenses that we see in the ACC conference.
And that's why I think, frankly, it's a really good move by Cam Ward to come back, because I think you kind of look at what he's had. I mean, it's been a lot on his shoulders. And you look at those Washington State teams, they were often kind of outgunned, if you will, compared to the Oregons, compared to the Washingtons. Those teams at the top of the Pac-12 just had more talent. And Cam Ward, a lot was placed on them. They didn't always run the ball particularly effectively. Didn't always have great line play, had okay wide receivers. I'll give them that, but everything else really wasn't up to kind of the standard of what that team
I think you're being generous with Washington State. They ran the ball. They were one of the worst teams running the football in the whole entire country. The offensive line struggled in a massive way. I mean,
that's to me what you want to see. You want to see him be able to play in an offense and play within himself and not have to, because again, the one issue is he turned the ball over a little bit at Washington State. But again, I think if he's playing in an offense that he just needs to be a really good quarterback, not be everything for that team, I think that's where you can see him play like a first rounder and win a lot of football games and have a really good year to kind of jump himself into that draft.
And what I'm most excited about Cam Ward, and talk about it making sense for me to come back for one more year in college, is there was a reason Cam Ward wanted to test the NFL waters, because he is extremely talented. I mean, that arm talent, you can't really teach that. There were going to be some NFL franchises that saw Cam Ward, saw him work out, saw the film the last 2 years at Washington State and said, yeah, that's a guy that has all the tools and we can bring him in. There going to be a lot of NFL interest. But you look at Cam Ward, and what excites me the most about him is I don't think you've necessarily seen Cam Ward at his peak, right? This is still a guy that has only played 2 years at the FBS level after transferring from the FCS. Still some things to clean up. So although Cam Ward has played phenomenal at Washington State the last 2 years, I still think he's almost as if he's just scratching the surface of what he can be as a quarterback year 3 at the FBS level with the talent that he's going to have around him. This Hurricanes team and Cam Ward himself, I mean, could make the massive, massive step in 2024.
And I think they have in place an offense now that's ready for a really good quarterback. I think, again, with Shannon Dawson that first year, you kind of saw those moments where they played really good offense. They just didn't have that steady hand every game at quarterback. So that, again, everything's kind of coming together for Mario Cristobal. I know people have been kind of getting on him. He's made some odd decisions in game, and people are, I don't want to say losing faith, or I mean, maybe on the national media, some people are a little bit, but if you see like this team's really talented, I thought they were really good last year. And this will be a huge season, I think, for Mario. And in terms of like kind of putting Miami on the map as kind of like how people think about Oregon, maybe, or think about.
Yeah, and I think Mario felt that pressure. And I think that's why you see him turn the heat up on a guy like Cam Ward, regardless if he feels the pressure, hears the outside noise. I think we all saw this team. I think Miami Hurricanes fans saw this team and what this team could be and said, this is a team that can be extremely dangerous if they get that quarterback right. And so he said, we got to make this a priority. And going out and landing Cam Ward certainly checks that box. The one thing I want to have a conversation about is now you have Cam Ward, a quarterback that was some people thought he was the number 1 quarterback in the transfer portal, extremely coveted by multiple different programs. Shannon Dawson let him cook. Shannon Dawson is a really, really good offense coordinator going back to his time at Houston. And quite frankly, during the Miami season in 2023, you saw the Shannon Dawson offense, right, against Texas A&M when they had faith in Tyler Van Dyke. And there was a lot of confidence in that unit. And then when Tyler Van Dyke started to turn the ball over, lose that confidence, not really play his best game, you could see Mario Cristobal kind of getting his hand in the offense. And you have a guy like Cam Ward, you have all the firepower on the offensive side of the football to really make some noise. Mario Cristobal, he can be an elite head coach, but he's got to trust his assistants to do their job and call their plays. I really would like to see this year, and we'll talk about this for the next 8 months, let Shannon Dawson really take control of this offense and go put out a product that I think Mario Cristobal is going to be extremely happy about.
And frankly, though, to allow Mario Cristobal to have to, or be able to stay out of it, I guess it needs to be good, and that starts with the quarterback play. So again, I know people do like to jump on Mario Cristobal for kind of that thing, or what you just kind of indicated. Once they started to struggle a little bit, they did go to a bit more bland, a little bit more run the football, a little bit less explosive and creative. But frankly, that was predicated on quarterback play that almost called for that, because it just wasn't good enough towards the end of the year last year, and that defense was good enough to win football games. So it put the whole team in a really tough spot when that quarterback play started to slip. I think with Cam Ward, there's just I don't see the quarterback play getting to that point.
100% agree with that. I mean, I think that's a really good point in terms of the defense probably at times trying to do a little too much because they knew they had to make something happen because the offense was really struggling. And you saw that defense make some really good efforts for 3 quarters and then just kind of wither away in the fourth because that offense couldn't stay on the field and couldn't maintain drives. I think this even helps the defense. Now, Dill, I want to say one more thing. I got some like chicken scratch. I didn't have much time. The boys wanted to get on and start talking about this. One other thing I'm wondering is now that you have Cam Ward locked in, you think Miami can make a little bit of a run at another wide receiver? And quite frankly, I've seen a lot of Miami fans say like, oh, would love to add one more wide receiver. I think this wide receiver room is going to be pretty damn good in 2024, right? Xavier Restrepo, I think Jacoby George, super talented if he just chills out a little bit at times. Isaiah Horton is probably my breakout candidate. You have Ray Joseph, JoJo Trader Dill, Cam Ward now running this offense. If you're a portal wide receiver, whether you're in the portal right now or whether you're maybe going into the portal, you're looking at this Miami Hurricanes offense and say, yeah, I wouldn't mind catching footballs from Cam Ward in this offense.
And honest, to give you my honest answer on that, it's like you're not going to turn down a really good player, because who would? But I don't think that moves the needle at this point. I think they have plenty of weapons. I think they have what they need with Cam Ward. Again, does it make it more attractive destination? Well,
Yes.
it certainly does. But that doesn't feel to me like it. I think this team's ready to go. I think this team just needed that quarterback. I know we were all kind of trying to talk ourselves in, and probably the Miami fans as much as anyone, into what they kind of had coming into this year. But at the end of the day, that wasn't a championship level quarterback room. Now, if everybody kind of plays their part, if their secondary can kind of meld into what we hope it can be, in what, again, very inexperienced unit to an extent, but if they can play really good football, I don't really see a ton of weaknesses in this football team. And
especially on offense, though. Like I think they'll probably maybe look to continue adding some in the back end, but I'm not too worried about the Miami Hurricanes defense. And even if the questions you have in the secondary are there, which that's fair, like that front seven is going to be, and we talked about this when Elijah Austin committed. Like this is going to be one of the more ferocious front sevens that you see. That can make up for a secondary that maybe will go through some growing pains. But you specifically look on the offense, and we'll close it out with this. I mean, you add Zach Carpenter to kind of replace Matt Lee. That's a pretty damn good replacement. You said it. You have the wide receivers to make it happen. The run game is going to be very good with Mark Fletcher going into year 2 in a very talented running back room as it is. Dill, we talk about checking boxes, and a lot of fans who've listened to us talk about other programs, like you got to, in the transfer portal, check boxes, right? What does your depth chart need, and where can we go add in the transfer portal? Miami's been checking the boxes, right? Getting some guys on the interior of that defensive line, going out and getting Zach Carpenter. That one box that was not checked, and it's the biggest box, and it's the most important box, and it's at the top of the sheet, top of the checklist, was the quarterback position. Dill, you can put a massive check through that box as well. This is going to be a really fun team. And again, two teams that we've talked about a lot, Miami, Florida State. It's going to be a very fun year for those two programs. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys again. The boys very fired up about this one. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.